Whether it's Ahsoka or Loki or Little Mermaid, Disney has broken people's brains, in my opinion. And I want to just give you a couple of examples. And I don't even know how. I think my phone went into autoplay because I don't ever listen or watch Grace. Um, that's fine. It's like, she does her, I do me. There's no like love loss here. We're good. Um, But this started playing and it was so incredible. I didn't know what to say. So, first, let's just get past the initial part.
Left scratching your head at the end of the Ahsoka season finale.
First off, does she always make these weird side smirk faces and stuff when she's doing these? It's so. Do you really want to? Okay, I'm done. I'm trying not to bag on her personally, but I was so like, what is happening? And then it's like, yes, everyone's left scratching their head because it doesn't make any freaking sense.
Especially if you like putting together puzzles like we do for Marvel and
Hold
I
on.
encourage you to come over here too. It's great here. It requires a lot of homework. I haven't even
So it's a lot of homework. So one of her takes is part of the reason you should like Ahsoka is because it requires a lot of homework. That's right. Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Rebels. Listen,
done all the homework. But I think, especially if you like putting together puzzles.
yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about this. Is what, okay, brain break number one. We are now going to lower the bar of standard for storytelling to be you're responsible for going and figuring it out. And then she makes the horrible analogy by pointing to the MCU, which I assume she's referring to the first three. But I will say this, if you don't watch some of the movies and you watch those, they can stand on their own and they're fine. The the Easter eggs and the crossovers and all that stuff are additive. You could drop into the Avengers and get references to stuff that's happening without having watched the other movies. It was not 100% prerequisite. If you're watching Rebels and they're just randomly uh, transferring characters over into Ahsoka, which is pretty much what they did, because if you don't know who Ezra is, if you didn't know about the space whales, if you don't know about the relationship dynamics with Hera, it was not on screen, not on screen. So that's my brain break number one is Disney has somehow shifted the dynamic from Marvel into everything else, which is now everything. And you'll just be completely lost because they don't thread together in a way that they catch you up or give you much to go on.
Or actually, quite frankly, 8 more episodes, because a typical Filoni animated season is 16 episodes. He could have really done right by this storyline. But instead, he literally half-assed it.
I love this take because these are people that are going out of their way to praise the show and praise what Disney does. This is obviously she's talking about Ahsoka and Filoni, but this can be applied to everything, right? The answer to Secret Wars is, oh, well, the story will keep going in the Marvels and something else. So therefore, we're supposed to excuse away that there's not actual story. Yes, he did only put in a half story because we could have done everything that happened in those 8 episodes, or God, those 6 to 8 episodes, and we got an hour because what needs to happen will take 10 minutes, and instead they drag it out. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of talking. Nothing's really thought out on consequences. They just do things. It's just events are just happening and they're referring to other Star Wars, and that's supposed to be story, but it's not story. And even in defending the shows, they're admitting that they're crap. Just me. This isn't just Ahsoka. You're going to see it with Loki too. We saw it with Little Mermaid and some of the others, but we are only a minute into this. See why I got hooked?
Thrawn feels his future. He's seen his future, and it's witches. It's red. Although, by the way, while Dathomir looks like a very evil planet, it in fact has many clans of witches living.
So this is the excusing the just we're obviously multiple films and multiple shows into Star Wars, and now suddenly we're going to have Now, this is the first exposure for many people to even have witches, but to have witches that matter and have witches that can hold their own against a Jedi. It is- We're going to now do mental gymnastics to justify when creators just randomly pull something that creates a contradiction to everything else going on. And we do all these mental gymnastics. We're expected to do homework and mental gymnastics to make sense of, I don't know, why a teenager who shoots up some soldier serum from Falcon and Winter Soldier could hold their own against Bucky. We're supposed to do mental gymnastics on how the multiverse and Infinity Stones and there's only one way to defeat Thanos, but when we watch What If, there's actually 3 more reasons that are presented. We're supposed to do the mental gymnastics to keep track of everything. It's not on them to give us a story. Yeah.
Tells us this? Ezra. And that is sloppy writing.
Oh,
Because
I went.
sloppy.
Right.
All right. So, but on the note of waking up the mothers, who tells us this? Ezra. And that is sloppy writing. Because he's like, oh, yeah, I know all about what's going on over here. And you're like, really? Then why were you asking so many darn questions for the.
So again, this is someone who's praising and loving the show is qualifying major plot holes or major contrivances in the show, right? So, for instance, I didn't really think about Kenobi at first, but as I'm going to do this video today. Something else happened, and I thought of Kenobi, and I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, think about the amount of contrivances and excuses that were made for Riva and the kidnapping story, which makes no sense whatsoever, and then um, the fact that the whole Vader thing, there are so many things of, well, why are you asking these questions then? Like, would you have known this? Um, Kenobi leaving the planet and you leaving Luke in this vulnerable situation and being completely useless to have protected him, and all the mental gymnastics that you have to do to keep the fundamental stories of the past intact in order to actually take this as additive to the canon. In Ahsoka, you have this Ezra's taken away and moved away, knows about witches, knows certain things, but he's dumb in this scene, but he has to be smart in this scene. It doesn't make it. We're not supposed to worry about or think about the fact that it doesn't add up. Even worse, because I don't think Grace gets to this, and I won't torment you with a whole lot of Grace. I'm sorry. I know that this is not your thing. If you like me, you probably don't like Grace, and vice versa. Grace people probably won't like me. It's fine. Here's when Ezra steals. First off, it all happens off camera, right? He steals a shuttle, and he ends up at uh, Hera's door right there with all. And it's like, how does any of this happen? It's like she calls it sloppy writing. It's like it's so bad, but we're not supposed to call it out. And then when we're praising a show, if they're praising a show, they're allowed to call out all these little things. Oh, sorry, they're not little things. All of these major things, but treat them as though they're little things, right? Okay.
The past 2 episodes, Ezra. And also, if he thought that Sabine had not yet run into Thrawn, wouldn't one of the first things he'd do be like, don't go over there, there'll be witches over there?
Yeah. So the entire he lives alone in this little like outpost with the rock creatures, and it's like, and Sabine shows up, and it's like, well, where's Ahsoka? It's a long story, and oh, she got her feet up. There's no sense of urgency. Neither one of them behaved as though anything actually mattered, and even at the end of the episodes when they're all standing around like they're just left on this planet. Well, you just let Thrawn get back to the actual proper galaxy, and you're just here. You are with your rock people, and again, Disney has broken these people's brains to just allow the most gaping plot holes to suck up anyone given an ounce of thought, and they will extend a security net and pat them on the back and tell them how smart they are and everything is so great. It's okay. Look at her title. It's about, she talks about Mortis gods, which is all just stuff not presented on screen yet. Tons of Easter eggs, blah, blah, blah. It's all this stuff that you're supposed to get out of it, even though she admits that it's just a freaking mess.
Was right. Balin Skoll has no interest in going home, at least not yet, as it seems that this galaxy is actually pretty good. But, I wish the episode had really spelled it out and maybe moved a little bit, a couple more Skywalker. This is actually, as I said, if you get into this stuff,
this is the Mortis Gods lecture. She's going to talk about all this other stuff that doesn't actually happen on screen. It's like, now you're down the rabbit hole. This is EU type stuff. This is the EU stuff that they deleted and said that doesn't matter. And when those of us that are huge fans of it, and some folks that are way bigger fans of it than I am, were outraged that all of it was being ignored or, deleted. Now we're supposed to be like, doing homework and essays and stuff.
You're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. But, I wish the episode had really spelled it out and maybe moved a little bit, a couple of more steps in this direction. So it could.
We didn't move it towards any direction. There's not a couple more steps. They just didn't move in that direction at all. She's just headcanoning that is what's going to happen. She's headcanoning Balin's story. She's headcanoning a little bit about what will happen to Thrawn. Because that's what you have to do. You have to fill in gaps for things that actually don't happen on screen. You have to be the one to kind of pick up some of this stuff and make some sense of it. And notice that how much worse it's getting, right? Now, Book of Boba Fett was terrible, but I'm talking about like from Mando to now, from, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier to Loki season 2. Think about how much more of this extra homework, extra assignment, filling in the gaps and things like that you have to do. Disney has broken everyone's approach to this. Now, let's set all of this aside for just a minute. I know you don't want to see me, but we'll go to an avatar then. Let's do that. Think about all of the other shows and networks and stuff of how bad it's gotten, right? Like how bad everything that's come out of WBD, some of the Netflix stuff, things like that don't even make sense. Like we watch these things and you're like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense because of X. Doesn't make any sense because of Y. And then the name calling starts, and people that are, smarter than we allegedly are, start talking about all this headcanon. If you had read the books and if you had done these things and whatever, okay. The world's been broken, and Disney was leading the way 4 or 5 years ago, and everyone started mimicking their behavior. And I don't know if maybe they just the market is either saturated with people that have had their hand in the Mouse House at one time or another, and they're on other stuff now. Let's say like a J.J. Abrams, or it's everyone just started following their lead, mimicking the type of behavior, the cheap writing, the plot holes don't matter, whatever, or it's a combination of the two, because we're now in a place where everything can be like what Grace did. I love this show. This is a great show. You should love this show. You should do your homework. You should go watch these other shows. I know this. I know. I realized the writing was not so sloppy, and there weren't all these plot holes. And if you had researched this and fleshed this out, and this character actually had a point, blah blah blah. Let's like, oh my gosh, if you could just listen to yourself and itemize what you're actually saying, you're not actually saying anything positive. It's crazy what is happening right now. So this isn't exactly the Friday pop perspectives, the commentary on culture war or whatever that most people get or want from me, but this is what we got this week, because Ahsoka had ended. This happened. I had some other stuff that came up, so I didn't get to record it. I'm like, I got to record this because it was such a great example of like literally like just within like 2 or 3 minutes of this video, you get this happen. It's really, really, really crazy. I'm still sort of blown away that this is kind of what's happened here, where we're at this point now where that's how it goes. So anyway, that's my take on it. I know I'm always railing, I'm always talking about it. It's not for everybody. I get it. So tell me what you guys think. I don't know, man. What do we do? How does the tide turn? It seems like it just, this is like a water's half empty kind of feeling sometimes, Anyway. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Hopefully you can join me Saturday morning cartoons. Definitely doing some more pop perspectives on that. What's your story? Things like that. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. I am Pops.
Yeah. Right.